Hello and welcome everybody to the Blogging Your Passion show. I'm your host, Jonathan Milligan, and this show is dedicated to help you go from a passionate idea to a profitable business. Now, primarily we like to talk about online business, but this works for offline as well, which many of the shows do. Today's topic is how to turn your message into a 6 or 7 figure brand. Now, the reason why I want to bring this up today is I recently did an online workshop for emerging speakers, writers, and coaches. And we talked about some of the constraints, some of the things that hold people back who are looking to build some type of an information business, a transformational message type business. And that primarily is people like bloggers, writers, speakers, coaches, online marketers that have that type of message. And one of the things I said is for many of us is we don't treat our message like a brand. And so that's what we're going to be talking about today. And so I want to pose a question for you right off the bat. What's holding you back right now from building a 6 or 7 figure brand? Because think about it, we live in the most amazing time in all of human history. Anyone, anywhere, at any time can build a transformational business. Let me say that again. Anyone, anywhere, at any time. Doesn't matter where you live. Doesn't matter what your topic's about. Doesn't matter what it is who it is that you want to reach. All of that, you can have a powerful business moving forward. I have a really good friend. He has a multiple 7-figure business, and he lives in a small town in Canada. And he said, Jonathan, look, if I tried to build a business like this 20 years ago, it would have been impossible. I would have had to move to a bigger location. I would have had to be in a bigger town because I live in the smallest town that you can possibly live in. And yet, my entire business is run with customers all over the world. Now, think about that, because just 20 years ago, that wasn't possible. Let me give you an example. Old media versus new media. So old media, direct mail, slow snail mail, try to make monies through catalogs. Now today, you know what we have? Email. Many, many experts make their money because of their large email lists, right? That's what we have today. Another example, networking. Now, networking still works, but networking of the old is the social media of today. And we've seen videos that go viral, seen different things out there, different pieces of content. Podcasts have even gone viral when they've picked up steam or somebody's been interviewed that's really popular and people want to listen to it, right? So that's the old versus the new. Here's another one. TV, old. And by the way, very expensive. If you wanted to have a late night infomercial, if you wanted to pay for a commercial, very expensive. Well, what's the new media? YouTube. And you have the opportunity to have your own TV show. Do it right on YouTube. Old was radio, right? Can be expensive. Trying to get some airtime, trying to get in the right slots when the most people are listening to the radio. What do we have today? We have podcasts. Newspapers, old. Advertising newspapers was expensive. Today, we have blogs, websites. So think about that. That would have cost you a fortune to build a business 20 years ago with direct mail, old-time networking, TV, radio, newspapers. Today, we have email, social media, YouTube, podcast, and blogs, and all of those have very little cost that come with them, right? So then what is standing in our way? Why is it that so many people are still struggling? They're still having difficulty with building a business that can sustain them full time. Well, I believe it's 2 primary constraints, and this is what I wanted to share with you today. Constraint number 1 is what I call the expert's dilemma. So constraint one is the expert's dilemma. What is that? Well, if you're a speaker, writer, or coach and you want to grow your business, what do? Most speakers think that their answer is to book more paid speaking gigs or raise their fees. Most coaches think it is filling up more of their calendar or maybe raising their fees. And most writers think that their financial windfall is that next book that they hope will hit a bestsellers list. But if you watch the most successful, their thinking is much different. And I'm going to tell you why in just a moment. But let's talk about constraint number 2, the fear of missing out. Another real constraint comes in the form of our lack of focus. You see, since we're unsure of ourselves and unsure of our plan, we fall prey to almost anything. Let me say that again. When you are unsure of yourself and the value you bring, and when you're unsure of a plan to bring it out to the world, you will fall prey to almost anything. You will fall prey to the next tactic, the next strategy, the next cool software. And we think we need to be everywhere online by yesterday, and all of our energy and our effort is wasted. Let me give you this example. I think this will really help. If I could take your time and bottle it up into a vial, just a small little vial, let's say it's some kind of a blue food coloring, and I put it in a vial that's not a whole lot, not very big, and I told you, listen, there's 2 places that I can pour out this vial, which represents your time. You only have these 2 places. Which one of these would you choose? Place number 1 is to pour that vial into a glass of water. Or option number 2 is to pour that vial into the ocean. Now, which one will have the more impact? I think you know the answer. Is to pour it into that glass of water. But we don't do that with our time. Our time is everywhere, and we move 100 projects 1% along. And then we wonder why we're not making an impact. So instead of falling prey to the fear of missing out, choose instead to adopt the joy of missing out. Choose to put things on the shelf and wait for a better time for you to go after those things. Now that you understand the constraints, I want to talk to you about 4 concrete steps you can take to take your message and turn it into a brand. So let's talk about these. Number 1, start treating your message like a brand. Now, I know that may sound simple, but it's incredibly profound. I asked this on a recent webinar that I did. In fact, we're doing an encore presentation of this webinar, and the webinar is the 4-step blueprint to building a highly paid expert business. So what we did was we had a summit recently where we interviewed over 27 successful writers, speakers, and coaches. And I took all that information and boiled it down to 4 concrete steps. And we taught it on a recent online workshop. In fact, if you want to watch, we have a few more slots where we're going to be doing this webinar again. And here's how you can get access to it. Take out your phone and text the word message to the number 44222. Again, it's the word message to 44222. And I'll send you a link to register for this webinar. We've got a few more slots. It's an hour and 10 long training online that walks you through the 4-step blueprint. You'll also get access when you text the word message to 44222. I'll send you the 3-page PDF note taker's guide. It's got fill in the blanks. You can watch the online webinar and also fill in the blanks. So that is available to you. So I was on that webinar and I said to the attendees that were there, what would happen if you started treating your message like a brand? Would you treat it differently? And if you really think about it, that's true. You know why? Because what it does is it expands your vision for what you're trying to do. New products, new services would emerge. Maybe you need to form a team because your vision has expanded. I love a quote from Michael Hyatt who says, if your vision doesn't require a team, your vision's not big enough. Now, today you may not be where you have employees, and you certainly can be successful without employees. But what is the long-term vision that gets you excited, that really stretches you? And that begins to happen, I believe, when you start treating your message that you have like a brand. Here's number 2. Go deep instead of wide. Now, if you watch the habit of the most successful writers, speakers, and coaches, you'll find that they go deep with their message, not wide. To go wide means to move onto the next keynote to craft. To go wide means to just move on to the next book to write. Or to go wide means to just go to that next course to launch. Instead of creating multiple products and services around that single message that you have. You see, most New York Times bestselling authors don't make their millions from book royalties. Their millions come from all of the products and services that are under the surface. Their millions come from the online course launches, the highly paid mastermind groups, the online membership sites, the events they host, the coaching programs. That's why you see a lot of these New York Times bestsellers giving their book away for free with just shipping. Just pay the shipping and we'll send you the book. You know why? Because it's a pathway of belonging. It's a pathway of belonging. They are creating a pathway of belonging. And see, as long as you have your message, your vision's not big enough. But when it becomes a brand, now you can begin to create a pathway of belonging for the people that come across you and your message. So here's how that works. A new customer hears you speak at an event. Now they want to go buy your book. Then they find out about your membership site. And now they want to get into your high-level coaching. That, my friend, is a pathway of belonging. Number 3, focus on transformation instead of information. Have you discovered yet that information is out there? Information on anything is out there for free. Now, of course, you have to have time to really dig it all up, and is it reliable? But we do not have a lack of information. In fact, your customers don't need any new information. What they need is transformation. And highly paid experts focus on creating products that bring transformation and not just information. So begin thinking about, instead of how much information can I create in this course to make it super valuable, it's how focused can I make this course? What's the least amount of information I can give them to help them get a result? Because at the end of the day, it's not about how many hours of content they consumed, but it's what action did they take that made a difference? And then last, number 4, if you want to turn your message into a 6 or 7 figure brand, build a teaching framework that others can follow. See, if you want to stand out from all the rest, create a teaching framework. Now you say, what is a teaching framework? Well, experts like Stephen Covey, Jim Collins, and Donald Miller have all created frameworks to build their brand around. If you've ever read 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, the first few pages, you see a 1-page framework that summarizes the entire book. If you've read Good to Great from Jim Collins, you've seen the 3 concentric circles, the hedgehog concept. It's such a simple diagram, but yet he's used it to create millions in his consulting and in his products and services. Donald Miller's created this story brand framework that helps businesses build better brands. And I did that recently with my book, 15 Success Traits of Pro Bloggers. In fact, let me show you those who are here live in the Blab session and those on the YouTube video, my framework. So I have the framework for the 15 success traits of pro bloggers. And this came out of lots of students asking me, Jonathan, what are the exact steps for me to become a full-time blogger? And so what I did is I created it in a nice one-page framework. And there's 15 success traits. And depending on where you are in your journey at building a business online, you can identify where you're at on this pyramid. And I show it right at the beginning of my book. And then I teach it throughout the entire book. And now, once I created this one-page framework, now the opportunities are endless. Because this is not just a message, this is a brand. Because from this, I can create keynotes. From this, I've created coaching programs, both individual and group coaching programs. From just a piece of this framework, I've created a weekend workshop where people pay thousands of dollars to attend. From this framework, I have an online membership site that people can go deeper. And that is what takes you from just having a message to having a brand. Create the framework. So let's do a recap. What are the 4 concrete steps? Start treating your message like a brand. Go deep instead of wide. The experts go deep. The amateurs go wide. They start on the next thing. But the experts say, how can we create multiple products around this single message? Number 3, focus on transformation instead of information. And number 4, build a teaching framework others can follow. Now, if you want to dive further into what we talked about today, this is just one piece of a much bigger training that we did on the webinar. And again, this is the 4-step blueprint of highly paid experts. And you can get access to this. We have a few more presentation slots that we have available. We're going to do this encore presentation. It's been a real popular training. And so we decided to open up more slots for more people to be able to go through this live webinar training. And you can get access to that today by texting the word message. That's the word spelled MESSAGE, the word message, to the number 44222. And when you do that, we'll reply back asking for your email address, and then you'll get the link to the webinar so that you can sign up for a time that works for you, as well as I'm going to send you the 3-page Note Taker's Guide PDF where you can literally fill in the blanks. And I've had many students that have gone through this training that have taken a picture of all the notes they've taken and emailed me and said, thank you. This is helping me in my business. And we're glad to provide that training for you. So again, text the word message to 44222. Well, listen, that's all for today's show. For those of you that are here live on Blab, we have an after show where we answer your questions, and that's what we're going to go to next. And if you want to come join us, go over to Blab and look for us. Look for me, Jonathan Milligan, or Blogging Your Passion, and you can get part of these weekly shows where you can get a part of the after show as well. So until next time, go out there, blog your passion, and share your message with the world.